7. Let me start out by saying Monday, November 9th, and congratulations. Congratulations to everyone. Congratulations to every single person who worked tirelessly to crush Donald Trump. You did it. We did it. This generation, and it's not a generation defined by age, but one defined by values. It was American values defeating Trumpism. It is so fundamentally important that this happened. So congratulations. Because of all of our collective work, we are only 72 days, that's right, 72 days until Donald Trump is led out of the White House. And 57 days into the most important Senate races of our lives in Georgia. We have to win those back. Look, Donald Trump right now is working day and night trying to steal this election. If only Trump had worked that hard on COVID, maybe he could have won the election legitimately, maybe, but he didn't. Because everything with Trump is about Donald Trump. And Joe Biden gave a great speech Saturday, so did Kamala Harris. Joe Biden today kicked off his president-elect status by creating a new coronavirus task force that they would actually follow science, not play games, not listen to Fox News, but listen to actual doctors. How refreshing is that going forward? I've got to tell you, look at this. All of us coming together delivered for Joe Biden the biggest number of votes in the history of this country for a presidential candidate. Over 75 million and counting. It was a blowout of Donald Trump. When all the votes are cast, Joe Biden will end up with likely 306 electoral votes. You only need 270. Arizona's touch and go there, but I think pretty likely that Joe Biden will hold on there as well. It was clear this was not even a close election, except for some of the swing states near the end. But so much work by so many people. And it was a Herculean effort by all of us. But I have to be honest, I think one group really led the way from the early days of the Trump presidency, and that was women. Think about it. The Trump presidency began, the day after it began, started the Women's March, and Trump presidency ends with the first woman ever elected vice president. And to me, there's a straight line connecting the two. It's not happenstance. It's also the perfect ending to this nightmare of a sexist predator in the White House. Look, so many of us played a role in defeating Trump. But think back. I want you to think back. Donald Trump gets inaugurated January 20, 2017. Gives a speech about American carnage. We're concerned, fearful, apprehension. But the sun comes up the next day, and what happens? The Women's March. The very next day, millions of people around the street standing up and making it clear they reject Trump. This was a march organized by women and featuring women and their male allies together. There was literally over 1 million people in the streets. And I think it was so important because that gave birth to the resistance. That's where it came from. And I think all of us, either you went or if you watch it on TV, you understood you're not in this alone, that we are out there, we are active, and we're going to fight Donald Trump every step of the way, and we did. In fact, just days later, after the Women's March, was Trump's Muslim ban, and people went back into the streets. And I think a lot of that was a template of the Women's March. We saw how inspiring it was, how it got so much media coverage. It showed to our fellow Americans, we're not going to be quiet and roll over. In fact, we are going to be the resistance. And from there, women just didn't march. They ran for office. In 2018 midterm, we had a record number of women who ran for office, primarily Democrats. And many of them who won, it was record number of women who won in 2018. Many were from the very communities that Donald Trump had demonized. Of course, like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, two Muslim women, first time ever Muslim women elected to office. Meanwhile, Donald Trump just months before had been pushing for a total ban on Muslims. And his first thing as president, executive order, was the Muslim ban enacted. And also when you look back at 2018 election, women were the reason we control the House. The reality is 59% of women in 2018 voted for Democrats. That is more than the percentage of women who voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So women stepped up. Whatever happened in 2016 happened, but they stepped up in 2018, nearly double the percentage of women voting Democratic in 2018 than voted 2016. This year, while the exit polls this year are a little sketchy because people didn't go to the polls as much and trying to measure people who came in and sent their ballot in by mail a little more difficult. But what we do know is the electorate, more women voted than men, and women voted big numbers for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Nationally, the estimate is about 13% gap between women and men voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That 13% was very similar to the Hillary Clinton number that she got, but the difference was the battleground states. Women came out in a bigger percentage and voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they really put us over the top. Got to be blunt. It really was led by women. Women of color especially, but white women joined with them in these battleground states, very much so. But it was, to me, it really is this straight line from the Women's March to Kamala Harris. And there was Kamala Harris Saturday making an amazing speech. It's a long time in the coming. Think about this. 100 years ago, this year, women still had not been guaranteed the right to vote by the constitutional amendment that went into effect 100 years ago. And obviously, black women really didn't get definitely guaranteed a right to vote until the Voting Rights Act in 1965. But the country moves forward. And, you know, it reminds me of Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous words about the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And in this case, it's bending towards justice in the sense of gender equality. And we're getting there. And I will tell you this, the next step is a female president. And that will happen. It could happen in 4 years. It could happen in 8 years. But in America, we will have a female president. And I will bet you this, that just like in 2020, it'll be women leading the path to electing that first female president. So look, it's a great day. And celebrate this. It's a big win. Now we have to win control of the Senate if we want to see policies change. Because you see what they're doing now with Joe Biden. This has nothing to do with voter fraud, folks. There's no voter fraud. Even they know it. This is just revenge for us calling out Donald Trump's crimes over the last 4 years. My point is they're going to be horrible to Joe Biden. There'll be no partisanship. We have to win the Senate if we want to have policies that help our fellow Americans. So if you want to do that, January 5th, Georgia. It'll be the focus of the show so much to help us win there. John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock, to have them win this election so we can actually pass policies that help people and just not focus on corporations. So thanks for tuning in. My show's live for 3 hours tonight, Sirius XM channel 127. I hope you'll check it out. Thanks for tuning in to a little preview of tonight's show.